I gotta thank God.
I stand on one thing for sure.
When I think about the victory, and as a black man, all that's pitted against me, can I get an amen?
In life, adversity always comes before success. The late, great Kobe Bryant said it best. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Episode 3 of my interview series, The Journey, man. I appreciate you for being here, man.
My God, you already know.
It's always been a lot of support between the both of us, man. We weren't like super close at Towson Catholic when I first met you, but you were honestly like a big brother.
We was close enough. You know, we was close enough. I always looked out for my younger guys that was at the school. So
absolutely,
you know.
I think one thing that even to this day that me and my pops talk about, because now, I mean, I didn't know you now since 2004, I think.
Long time.
You know what I mean? So one thing that me and my dad always talk about is, like, you obviously you had the talent, but I think what makes you special as a person, man, is just like the high character guy mixed with just the talent that you have on the basketball court and everything that you're doing. I think that's why we kind of gravitate towards you over the years.
I tell people all the time, I'm a regular dude, man.
Absolutely.
Like I play basketball. You know, God has blessed me with some tremendous talents on the court, but at the end of the day, man, I'm just a regular dude who just like to have fun and make sure everybody around me is happy, is in good mood, good spirits, and you know, just living life, man.
Right. And it's funny, man, because for a while I hadn't really seen you once I left TC. Saw you a few times, man, but you know, obviously just
it was a few years, yeah.
But I'll never forget when I was doing this, and you were just kind of just encouraging me, like in the stuff that I was doing on social media and that sort of thing. And then I think when I asked to do that interview, and I was like, yo, you were like, absolutely,
for sure.
So I was like, yo, it's
no brainer.
Same person, man, from TC. But bro, we're gonna jump right into it, man, because I really want to start at the very beginning of your journey, like kind of like pulling the curtain back on your journey, man, just in your life, and then obviously with your basketball career, because you're entering your 14th year as a pro basketball player, which is time flies.
Blessing, man, blessing.
Absolutely,
truly is.
Man. So all right, so you were born in Germany, right?
Born in Munich, Germany. Yeah.
Okay.
February 21st, 1988.
Okay, so you kind of moved around a lot, like as a kid before you came here. I know you came to Baltimore in 2001. So how much were you moving around before that?
I moved around a lot. I was in Germany till I was 4.
Okay.
Actually moved back to Baltimore for a few years.
Okay.
Was here until I was about 9 years old, and then went back overseas. I went to Japan. I did a stint in Japan. I lived in South Korea, lived in Guam, Hawaii, and I went back to Germany. And then in 2001, I was 13. I ended up moving back to Baltimore.
And all that moving around that you were doing at that time, that was mainly because of the work that your mom was doing, right?
Yeah, my mom worked for the NSA, so she was in the government, one of them can't ask your mom how her day was type deal, you know. And the NSA is real secretive about what they let out, but yeah, I know she did something with computers.
Right.
So.
No, it's funny because I have friends who've been in the NSA. You can't really.
Yeah, you can't really. Yeah. Hey, how was your day? It was good. Okay.
Yeah, man. So I know when you came back in 01, I do know that your mom eventually passed away and everything, man. Talk about that, what that time was like for you, and how that kind of affected you at the time, and how it shaped you, you know, since then.
Man, it was life changing. I'm not gonna lie, because you know my mom was such a hard worker. She was very strong, independent, you know, African American woman, and really me and my little brother didn't need for anything. You know, everything we always wanted or asked for was always provided for us. So, you know, when she passed away, it was like, you know, it's time. You got to grow up. You know, it was me and my brother, and we ended up having to move back with my grandparents and my dad.
And how old were you at that time?
13.
13?
13. So it was, you know, I tell everybody, like, life is full of roller coasters. You got ups and downs, and the first 13 years of my life, I'm just going up. Just everything, you know, going up, going up, going up. And then when that happened, that's really kind of what started the roller coaster.
Right, absolutely, man. Now, for you with basketball, because obviously, like you said, you were in Baltimore from, like you said, 4 to 8. Then you went back overseas and then came back when you were 13. So. When did you pick up a basketball for the first time? Do you remember that?
I played when I first came home. I played at Woodlawn. I would do the rec ball, in-house stuff.
Right.
It wasn't
the second time you came back.
No, the first time when I was younger. Yeah, like 4 or 5 years old, I played, but it wasn't nothing serious.
Okay.
I was more of a baseball player. I tell people that I always played baseball, like even year round. So when I would have in-house, sometimes I would miss basketball practice because I had baseball. Because baseball was my thing. That was my number one sport. And then when I moved to Japan, it intensified even more because in Japan, number one sport there is baseball. So we were playing in the snow. Like, it didn't matter what was going on. We was playing year round, and I ended up playing on the base team, which played against a lot of the Japanese teams. So you know, you had to be really good to play on that. So baseball was my sport all the way up until my mom passed away, and I moved back to Baltimore. And in 2001, man, baseball wasn't really an option. It was in the city. It was basketball, or it was a little bit of football, but mostly basketball.
So that transition from baseball to basketball mainly happened because of where your environment at that time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Okay. So when you first started playing at 13, well, not first started playing at 13, but when you
started taking it serious.
Right, at 13, man. Like, what were your skills like back then? Like,
I was trash. And everybody that knows me back then, I was playing with a Rico. So you know, we would play in it was a little middle school league in Lock Raven, or I would play BNBL. You know, I would go around. Rico was a team that we didn't just play in the county; we played in the city too.
Right.
So I was with them, but I was trash. I couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. It was a start of a long road. I tell you that.
How tall were you at the time?
I might have been 5'10", maybe. I had some good size for a 13-year-old.
Right.
About 5'9", 5'10". Okay. But yeah, I was real skinny, like a skinny, like a Ethiopian runner type skinny, and just really wasn't really coordinated. Really wasn't used to my body as a basketball player yet.
Right. Well, obviously, bro, at some point something changed, because when I met you for the first time, you were a sophomore, because I came in to TC as a freshman. That was 2004. You were a sophomore, and I'm telling you and Malcolm, y'all were like the two-headed monster at TC at the time. So, like, when was that transition for you, where your game was able to develop and you were able to elevate your game?
So I left Rico and started playing with Mount Rural. Coach Corbett was a friend of my mom's, and didn't really know. When I moved to Baltimore, I didn't really know I was playing basketball. So when he finally seen me on the circuit and was able to, you know, get me to come down to Mount Royal and start playing, that's what really changed my basketball career. And from there, it took off. Just being down Mount Royal and playing in the hot box, getting the experience of playing not only with my teammates, but, you know, Mount Royal, you got to play. Everybody plays everybody, no matter how young you are or how old you are. You're going to play everybody. So getting that chance to play against the older guys is what really got me going.
And I know you kept playing with them even by the time you got to high school. By the time you were at Towson Catholic,
sure.
You know, Team Melo and everything. But it sounds like that's kind of what really helped you to get your game right enough to be able to go to TC and do what you did there, and ultimately look at everything that you've done since then. I want to talk about Towson Catholic for a second, because obviously that's where we met and got to know each other. But I want to know, like, before you got to TC, were there other schools that were interested in you, or other schools that you were looking at?
No.
Okay.
Going into high school, I was just supposed to go to my zone school, which was Woodlawn.
Okay.
Coach Eddie Green a big Arico guy. You know, he always got the kids from Arico because Arico was basically in Woodlawn zone. So while I was playing with Arico, I had developed a relationship with Coach Eddie. And, you know, I even in 8th grade, I would go up there and play against a bunch of the guys that were going to Woodlawn at the time. And it was just in everybody's mind that, all right, I'm going to Woodlawn. Right. Didn't have really any private schools after me until Coach Tony Biggers came around and seen me at Arico. I don't know how he heard about me. Still haven't even asked him to this day, but he came around and was like really one of the first coaches that was like, all right, I want you to come to this Catholic school. You know, at the time, when you in 8th grade, like I didn't know nothing about Catholic school. Like I was going to Southwest Academy. I was in public school. Thinking I'm going to Woodlawn. Right. And you know, I took a visit up to Towson Catholic and loved it and was like, yo, like I'm gonna go to Towson Catholic. But the only problem was, of course, was the money, you know, financial. Right. Like, you know, at the time, my peoples couldn't pay for that. So it was like, you know, if y'all can find a way to, you know, through some financial aid or some groups they're giving out scholarships to young kids, you know, I could come. But if not, you know, I don't think I'm going. So throughout my 8th grade year, like leading up to my 9th grade year, it was like kind of on the fence, like, hey, you know, I don't think I'm going. And then Coach Bino was at St. Francis at the time. He was the head JV coach at St. Francis. Right. And Coach Bino kind of came around late and tried to get me to go to St. Francis because a lot of my guys.
Trying to get you to go to
St. Francis because I had guys. I had Eric Brooks, who was going to go to St. Francis, right. And then Desmond Thomas, who was a friend of mine too, who played with Mount Royal. He was going to St. Francis. So it was like, yo, we got some guys going to St. Francis that's your age. I had nobody going to TC at the time that was my age. Okay. But it was like, yo, we got somebody. So maybe let me go to St. Francis. And then, you know, TC ended up coming through and working it out, so I went there. But yeah, it was only like Woodlawn, St. Francis, late, and Towson Catholic.
Did you at the time? Did you know much about TC?
I didn't. I just on a basketball standpoint, because you know I just got back in the country really, so I really didn't. I really didn't know much about any really Baltimore basketball history. I really had to like be one of them guys to really learn about it, like, right. And just sit there, you know, ask and just listen to guys talk. But yeah, I didn't know much about TC.
Bro, if you were 5'10", if you were around 5'10" at 13, by the time I met you, I think you were like what 6'7", 6'8".
I was about my sophomore year. I was about 6'6". Yeah, 6'6". I had a crazy growth spurt.
So you had one of them Carmelo growth spurts.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Your freshman year at TC, did you play varsity?
I didn't. I played JV. I played JV. I got called up at the end of the year in the BCL tournament, and it was actually crazy. I got called up and started, which is wild. Yeah, I know. Like I don't know anybody who's done that in the history of the BCL.
Yeah, I see people get pulled up, but they just
Yeah, you on the bench. Yeah, you know. But no, I got pulled up and started. And what's crazy is we end up beating. I think we might have been ranked that year probably like 4th or 5th or something like that. It might have been that 4th or 5th seed. Okay. And we played Gibbons. Gibbons had Leon Williams. They had Kenny Hasbrook, who ended up going to Siena. Leon went to Ohio. They had a shooter. I can't think of his name, but they had a squad. Like Gibbons was like that. It was a pretty powerhouse.
And that's who y'all played in the first round.
We played in the first round, and we ended up beating them, upsetting them, and you know I had a pretty good game. And I want to say I got a dunk that game. Like it was crazy. Crowd went crazy. Like it was my like coming to the BCL moment for me.
That's dope. From there, I guess it was just like history at that point. Because when I came in my freshman year, there was no question about the fact that you were like one of the main guys on that.
Yeah, that BCL tournament, because I think we ended up playing with them. We lost to St. Joe the next year. We lost to the next game. We lost to Will Thomas, Courtney Thomas, Brian Johnson. I can't believe who they. Mac. I think his last name was Mac. It was a bunch of Mount St. Joe was always loaded, but we ended up losing to them next round. And then I had a really good summer with Mount Royal, Team Melo. Well, I think that year we were Baltimore Select. We went underneath Baltimore Select. But I had a really good summer that year, and you know, going into high school, it was like, all right, you know, I'm ready. You know,
Right.
I'm ready to take the reins, and because we graduated a bunch of seniors,
Right.
so you know, it was kind of like it was my time.
Yo, let's talk about that your sophomore year at TC, man, because bro, I was telling Malik off camera that might have been some of the best like high school basketball to this day.
For sure.
And I'm 30 now, like to this day that I've seen. You know what I mean? I don't know if I don't know, and I'm not trying to like I don't want to put today's competition down in any way, but I'm just saying I feel like the competition back then.
Now, high school basketball back then meant something. You know, high school basketball now it's more AAU. You know,
Right.
it's more the glitz and the glamour. But for sure, high school basketball was that deal.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and especially in the BCL. You know, BCL was always ranked as one of the top leagues on the East Coast, and really one of the top leagues in the country.
Right.
You had teams that had 3 to 4, sometimes 5 D1 players on the team, on the one squad, and sometimes all 5 starters went D1. Like I can say for sure, every year that I started at TC, we had all 5 went D1.
D1.
All 5 went D1. So, you know, just playing in that environment and playing on that level, man, you had no choice but to either get better or you was getting shipped out. It's getting shipped out, man.
And at that time, you playing for Coach Mike Daniels, man, which I know he
Legendary.
no joke, man. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Coach Mike.
In that year, bro, that particular year, it was so interesting, like to watch those games, like watching y'all play against Sean Mosley and St. Francis and those guys, watching y'all play against, you know, DeJuan Summers and McDonough, those guys, and we talked about Calvert Hall and Gibbons and all those schools at that time. But man, those were some competitive, intense games, man. You had at that time, you had obviously you and Malcolm were like the two-headed monster. But I think some people might even forget like some of the talent that y'all had around you guys, like
For sure.
Carl at the one you were talking about.
My
Kyle.
sophomore year. I would say outside of I think my sophomore year and my senior year were probably the best teams that I had played on. My sophomore year, we had Carl, who was it was his senior year. He was a 4-year varsity starter.
Right.
He came in freshman year starting right away. You had Malcolm that transferred in our sophomore year. Nobody knew, summertime, nothing. Ended up having a disagreement at McDonough where he started off at,
Right.
and ended up transferring to TC with us. And you had Kyle Cannon, who eventually went. I know he went D1. I don't know where he went, but he went D1. You had myself, and then you had Big Lawrence.
Right.
Big Lawrence was he was from Africa,
Right.
but he was
I used to carpool with this guy.
man. This dude, man.
Lawrence was cool.
Lawrence was cool, but he was he was a grown man. I know he was a grown. Lawrence was a grown man.
Right.
But just playing on that team, and then we had Ronald Nicholson coming off the bench. We had Kimmy English coming off the bench.
Right.
We had Kenneth Perry coming off the bench. We had a squad. I think did Larry play with us a little bit? He did.
I think he got brought up.
He got brought up. I think Larry played, a little bit with us. I mean, just that team, we started off the season ranked in the nation. We couldn't really figure it out. And to win the BCL, I think we lost in the championship with the BCL that year. But that team was talented, man.
And like you said, especially even on paper, man. Like looking at y'all on paper, which is crazy. So well coaching and just a talented team. Tell me this, bro, because this is something I've thought about. Because I played in high school and everything, not nowhere near the level that you played. But I'm saying
You went to the school though,
yeah,
you was there with us. Yeah.
But you know what? That was some of the best. That was some of the best bump, man, that we that I experienced, man, playing.
Especially our open gyms. Oh man.
Gosh, you guys had like all the top D1 schools that were just there.
Yeah.
Like watching, I'm sitting there playing a mixture of you got JV and varsity guys playing together, man. So it was like you didn't want to. If I'm on Malcolm's team, I ain't trying to make no mistakes. If I'm on this squad, I'm not really trying to make any mistakes playing with you guys. I'm trying to hold my own so I can, be on the floor. So these other scouts can see not just y'all, but everybody else is there too.
I used to tell people, man, like our from the moments, the first day of school, you know, we're having open gym, and it's anywhere from 10 to 15 coaches per open gym. We have an open gym at least 3 times a week.
Absolutely.
So it's 10 to 15 coaches in there, from UNC to Kansas to Duke to Syracuse to Virginia Tech, Maryland, Texas, Miami, like you name it. They was in that gym, in our small little gym, small little hot gym.
Hot gym, bro.
But they was in there watching us, and we'd be in there for a good 2.5 hours, just bumping, just nobody wanted to leave because nobody wanted to lose or leave on a loss or nothing like that. But yeah, man, it was definitely different.
Well, that was some of the best basketball to be a part of, man. Absolutely. Competition was just crazy.
Crazy, man, crazy.
But for you, man, what kind of did you feel pressure at that time? Like when you going into those games, those Friday night games, and y'all about to go up against St. Francis, man, did you feel pressure at that time?
I ain't gonna lie, the only time I felt pressure was my senior year playing against St. Joe. I would say that's the only game, is because for some reason my junior year, it started my sophomore year really, but my junior year, I never played well against St. Joe. It was like, you know, they always, 9 times out of 10, I was always the tallest guy, so I'm getting double teamed down there. And they always had, whether it be, at first, you know, Dino was in my class, so I was always matched up against Dino, but Dino always had a Louis Bird song my sophomore year. Or then he re-upped and went and got Henry Sims.
So y'all couldn't really double.
So yeah, you know, it was always something. And you know, shout out to my cousin Brandon Greene. That's my dog. You know, we was the wrecking crew down there, the 4 and the 5. But you know, Big Green's only 6'5", 6'6" on a good day. So
and he
you know,
was tough, man, to be 6'5" and to be.
Yeah, no, he was definitely tough. He was playing out of position, you know, undersized, but you know, he was a dog, and you know, always held it down, always had my back. Yeah. But yeah, the only time I felt pressure was playing against St. Joe. Other than that, it was no pressure at all.
Absolutely. Other than that, it was just fun, man. Getting out
for sure. We going out there, we hooping. We know we gonna win, but it's just how we gonna win. That's how it was. That's how we looked at it for sure.
Yo, tell me this, man, because obviously, you even to this day, you and Malcolm still have a great relationship, man. I think he's even the godfather.
Best friend, yep, right? Godfather to my sons.
Right, yep. To your sons, man. So, what was it like? What was it like for y'all to play? You know, beside each other. I mean, not just in Team Melo at that time, but also like at TC, man. Like,
it was big, man. It was big. You know, I look back on it, I think we probably took it for granted, you know, because it was just like, you know, that's my guy, but, you know, it was like, oh, you know, it's whatever. You know, it's Malcolm, it's Tay. Like, you know, we just playing, but, you know, we wanted to initially go to school together. When we started off our recruiting process, it was like, all right, we're going to be a package deal. Like, wherever you go. For college. Right. Wherever you go, you know, I want to go wherever I want to go, he wanted to go. But, you know, of course, as time went on, it didn't work out. We almost had it like that with down at NC State. Seth Greenberg was at NC State at that time. One of both of us. I was high on NC State, so was he. He ended up, Seth Greenberg ended up getting fired. And then went to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech wasn't, once he got fired, Virginia Tech wasn't in my interest, and you know, it kind of fell apart from there. But no, we definitely started off wanting to go to college and continue what we had started with AAU in high school.
No, absolutely, man, because I know at that time, I feel like you guys had a great balance because, I mean, obviously now, like when you look at the game of basketball, it's so perimeter oriented. But I feel like back when you guys were in high school, when we were in high school, there was more of a respect for what guys can do, in the paint too. Right. And y'all had that perfect 1-2 punch, that perfect combination because he's on the perimeter. But you could play, I
would step out too, yeah.
With the best of them, and you could shoot it from the perimeter with the best of them, but you also could be dominant inside.
We would like switch because, you know, Malcolm was 6'3", so, you know, he could post up the little guards and you know, I'll be the one out there feeding them, or if I wanted to post up, you know, I'll go down there, or if I wanted to work on the wing, you know, I'll be able to work on the wing and he'd do his thing. Like, we complement each other well, and I think that's why we never really, never really butt heads. It was just the fact of of who was going to play the better defense. I think that's one of the only time we butt heads. But other than that, nah, we was out there and we was always just locked in, just trying to win at the end of the day.
Right. Man, I want to talk about transitioning from high school to college because I was thinking about this the other day and I was laughing to myself because I remember being in the cafeteria, bro, during lunch and the coaches are bringing you and Malcolm letter after letter after letter after letter. For all these different schools, man. So at that time, I know that you obviously eventually went on to select Syracuse, but what other schools were kind of hunting after you at that time, were trying to recruit you heavily at that time?
Georgetown was real heavy. My top two were Syracuse and Georgetown, just because of it was close to home. Right. It was a big school. Right. Georgetown had a lot of history. And also had a lot of pros. So I know where I wanted, my dream was, of course, to go to the NBA. My goal was to make it to the NBA. Right. So I know that Georgetown would have definitely helped me get to that and get to that level. Right. But I had other schools from Kansas was really in there. Like I said, NC State for a while. Miami was big. Miami interested me. I had a lot of interest in Miami, but mostly it was just Syracuse and Georgetown.
Syracuse, okay. So for you, like, it came down to those two?
Came down to those two.
Georgetown.
And I picked Syracuse because, I wanted to go into school and to be the man, but I also wanted to commit early. Like I got tired of the recruiting process, like the letters, the phone calls, the school showing up, and it really was kind of getting to be too much. So I made my mind up. I said, you know what? Before I think at the beginning of my junior year, when the season started, I'm like, yo,
You committed.
I'm a committed. Yeah, okay. I committed early.
Okay.
So I broke down what was going on with the two schools at the time. Georgetown was forward heavy. They still had Jeff Green at the time. Right. Nobody knew what he was going to do, if he was going to go pro or stay. Right. They had DeJuan Summers, who had committed to him.
I remember
that. They had Doc Rivers' son. I think his name was Philip Rivers. I don't know, one of the Rivers. One of them was there. He was a 3-4, and they had a couple other guys. I had some guys that were interested from my class. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look at Syracuse. Syracuse, for sure, only had 4 returning players.
Oh yeah, so that
was a no-brainer. Like I could step in on campus no matter who was going to stay, who was going to leave. I know for sure my year they would only have 4 players. Right. And I ended up having a good relationship with Robert Murphy, who was the assistant coach recruiting me. Okay. And we clicked, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get this out the way, and everybody always think that Melo had something to do with the. We never even talked about it. Yeah. I get it. I get it, but me and Melo actually became tight, became cooler. I always knew him, but we became cooler after I committed to Syracuse. It was like, yo, all right, cool. Like that's big bro, it's little bro. Like. Right. We formed our relationship after I really committed to Syracuse.
You guys didn't really interact much when you were at TC.
Just from he from down the rec. He came down. Of course, when he got drafted, he down the rec or
playing in Melo.
Yeah, he never came to TC. Of course, him and TC didn't really have a good relationship. Right. But it was more of Mount Royal. So hey, Mount Royal, and then of course my junior year, my sophomore year, we went under Team Melo. That's when we started Team Melo. Right. So it was always Mount Royal. I had a relationship with him through. But once I committed, it became stronger.
More tight relationship.
Yeah.
And a quick sidebar, man. I would actually remember. I think this was like the summer. This was the summer before I went to my sophomore year of college. So this had to be like 2009, and 2009, 2010. I remember running into this guy. I was working with one of his kids. And he actually had just came from Washington. Not that day, but I think that week he had went down to Melo Center. Okay. And he saw you and Melo
going at it.
Kind of going at it, man.
That was
my guy Donté. You know what I mean?
Nah, that was crazy. So that was a good story. That was like, before social media and all that. Like you basically only had like blogs and you know maybe some photographers or something like that, but nobody was like actually doing live footage and all that other stuff. So of course we playing in Melo's pro-am down at the Melo Center, and it was a championship of the pro-am, which was crazy. And Melo went off. I think Melo probably had about 75 that game. I ain't gonna lie, but we playing on the high school court, so his three, you know, he wasn't even pulling from half court, but you know the 3-point line wasn't as far back, so you know them threes is really should be twos, but they adding up as threes. But nah, he caught fire and got hot, and I think he finished probably about 75. I think I had about 45. I had a good game, you know, but I also had. It was myself. I had Mo Hatton on my team. I think Mo had about 40 himself that game. Okay. And we won the game. Like we won the game.
We got the win.
Yeah, we got the win. We got the chip. But of course, I'm guarding Melo, and Melo, you know,
so
that's the story. You know, I ended up going back to. It was like right before. That was like right before training camp. So I go back to SAC, and as soon as I get in the training room.
You were in the league at that time.
I was in the league. Yeah, I was in the league. Yeah. So. Yeah. Go to the training room, and the first thing somebody says is, "Dang, Tay, Melo gave you 75, dog." I'm like, you know, I gotta hear it from all my teammates.
That was like before the social media.
Yeah, but the social media, you know, I would have my own little highlight tape, like you know, a couple dunks, you know, trays, getting past Melo and all that. So you know, but it was.
And that was like, and honestly, bro, that was probably prime Melo at that time.
Prime Melo, 2009. He was still in Denver at the time.
Right.
So
that's prime
you know, prime Melo.
2009 was when they went to the conference finals against LA, right? I think it was like 2009 when they went to the conference finals against Kobe.
It was right after that. It was right after that. Yep.
And that was crazy because I mean you know how much Kobe Bryant was like my Michael Jordan. So
I watched that series every second of that series. Yeah, they was going at it. Yes, for sure.
I had to do that little quick sidebar.
Nah, that was. I mean, it's still you know everybody back home talk about it like, oh you know Melo did this, man. Hey man, look, it's Melo, bro. Like what you expect. But I definitely held my own as a young guy. I think that was after my rookie year, 2008. That was after my rookie year. So you know, I was young, just still learning, but you know, it was a good experience for me for sure.
I hope you guys enjoyed that part of the journey. That's right, we'll be back. Until next time, I'm Karl Nelson, creator of Intern Media.
I gotta thank God.
I stand on one thing for sure.
When I think about the victory, and as a black man, all that's pitted against me, can I get an amen?